So that was basically our stories. We'll just quickly go through some of the questions that I had on my Facebook page. So this one's for me. How as a Christian do you deal with pain and disappointment? So that's to do with you know, his plan. And the way I see it in hindsight, if I hadn't have lost Pancake, we wouldn't have Mila Rose, and maybe there's some sort of plan there. And I just think I've just got to think that there's always a bigger purpose to things, and you know, things may have been different if Pancake was still here. Pancake may have had a genetic disorder, or something must have been wrong for it to stop developing. So there's obviously some sort of bigger plan for our family than what we could just see as a bad experience. So that's how I get through it anyways, just thinking that we have Mila Rose now and something must have been wrong with Pancake for that to happen. So do we feel jealous of people who are pregnant? For me, before I had my miscarriage, I have always been jealous of people who are pregnant, pretty much. Like, it's really hard, you know, going through infertility. It's something you want all the time. Even when I had Mila Rose and she was only a few months old, I was still like, oh my gosh, look at that pregnant person, and I'm so jealous, you know. But it's nothing major, like, oh my gosh, I want a baby so bad. But straight after my miscarriage with Pancake, I was a bit more tense about it. I wouldn't say I was extremely jealous. I was just trying to avoid people who were extremely pregnant at the time, I'd say. And then I found out my sister was pregnant. Not too, like, when did you find out you were pregnant? What month? Do you remember?
It was Jonty.
Yeah.
You had Mila before. You were far more pregnant. Oh, I found out in January.
Oh, it was January.
Because remember, I was like, oh, you know, this was the hardest thing for us, is we were so looking forward to having babies together.
That's right.
Because you know, Nicole can't just get pregnant, and so it was so nice. Oh my gosh, we're going to be having babies together.
Yeah. It was, and that was a big disappointment for us.
Yeah.
Like that we were going to share something together, and that wasn't going to happen anymore, because obviously for our losses and Stevie's loss. Another one, but with the pregnancy jealousy, yes, of course you get jealous when people are pregnant. How, like, do you still feel like now, even
I
a year
don't
later?
now, like, I don't so much now, but I had a friend who was due the same day, and she had a little boy as well, and when he was born, whew, I was rope ball, like, so jealous. I wasn't angry at her, like, if you've been through it you can understand, but I was just really a mess. I did get jealous of women with new babies, not so much being pregnant, just new babies, but now I'm completely okay with pregnant women and new babies.
Yep. So this is obviously a year later for Stevie and 2 years
and
later
I think
for me.
Probably it took me a good 10 months to get over that. Like, it got easier, but to start with was, I couldn't even look at new babies, and I know a lot of women who've been through it do feel like that.
Yeah, definitely. I got asked this question multiple times, so I've just obviously written it down once. Do I class my loss as less important? Because obviously my loss was at 6 weeks, and what most people would say is just a clump of cells, although you can actually see a baby at 6 weeks, and some ultrasounds have actually found heartbeats on, you can see it flickering on screen at 6 weeks. But obviously with Pancake, I'm not quite sure developmental wise what would have happened, but 6 weeks compared to Stevie, who had to deliver a fully formed baby just a lot smaller at 17 weeks. I definitely feel like mine was a lot less important. Just as an example, today we went and got the balloons for the balloon release, and Stevie had got back in the car and the lady was like, oh, you guys going to a birthday party? And I said, no, actually my sister lost a baby last year and we're just going to go let balloons. Like, I couldn't bring myself to say that I lost a baby, because I just don't feel like it's as important. And I think that's what's wrong with society these days, is that a loss isn't really counted unless they're over 20 weeks really. But the earlier you're lost, the more people just believe it's a clump of cells, and it goes along with abortion, you know, it's just a clump of cells, who cares about it, just get rid of it, kind of thing. And I think at 6 weeks, that's what I felt like. I didn't get to see a baby, I didn't get to hold a baby, I didn't see fingers or toes or a face. I saw period in the toilet pretty much. And so sometimes I do feel silly grieving for something that was almost not existing. But for me, I think the thing that makes me feel more sad about it and more real about it is because it was someone who we believed we were going to have for a lot longer than I was pregnant for, because we'd had Pancake's picture for the same amount of time we had Roman, because Pancake was from the same batch of embryos. It sounds like we're the same batch, but it's from the same batch of embryos as Roman. So we'd had that picture for the same amount of time we've had Roman, and I remember looking at that picture going, can't wait to meet this person. So that's what made it hard for me. But absolutely, I feel like a 6 weeks loss is not seen as important as like my sisters, for example, at 17 weeks, who actually had to go through labour and birth to have her baby. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Because I do think that they're all equally important. Like, you know, it's all the start of a dream. You know, you straight away, as soon as you see those 2 pink lines, you're like, oh, is it going to be a girl? Is it going to be a boy?
Definitely.
What's it going to look like? You know,
Get out the baby name book.
Us, terrible. I think, you know, they're all equally important. For myself, I find like when people compare their situation to mine, not saying Nicole does, but people who have had a really early loss, I find like they say, I know exactly how you feel. Well, I feel like you can't understand, because I had to, you know, give birth to this little boy, and, you know, I took him home and it wasn't right. So I just feel like they're all equally important, and I always feel sorry for every woman who goes through it. I just think it is a lot harder the further you get along. You know, and my loss compared to someone who was 30 weeks, I couldn't even imagine. Like,
that, someone who expects to be delivering a fully full-term baby.
You know, I think everybody's situation is different, and the further along you get, I think the worse it is, because you're getting more and more attached as the days go by. So
I'd completely agree with that.
Yeah, everybody's still just as important.
How do you go about each day without getting upset? For me, it's just really simple. I have Mila Rose now, and she is the light of my life, and so is Roman, but I'm just saying her pregnancy resulted after the miscarriage. So she's what makes me happy. I'm busy with a new, you know, and 2 children now, and if she hadn't have been born, I hadn't got pregnant with Mila Rose, things may have been very different. But that's how I get through each day, is I see the positives in what I've got now. I've got another child, and it's really exciting, and tomorrow's a new day, and I feel really happy. And of course, days like this, I get to spend one day remembering that special person that we didn't get to meet. What about you?
It took me a really, really, really long time not to get upset on a daily basis. I think finding something for myself. I actually got a little dog. I'm getting a photo.
Dog, Bella.
Yes.
Called Bella. It's really cute,
I was
fluffy
really struggling with not being upset all the time. So, and I'd wanted to get myself a little dog. Where is she? Gosh.
So how do you go about each day without getting upset? Find something that makes you happy.
Yeah, something for you.
Oh, that's a cute picture.
Snuggling on the couch. Honestly, something for yourself. Something. I've just started sport, like doing fitness in probably the last 4 weeks, and since then it has just, you know, that's all I've been focused on. I don't get upset anymore. You know, I still think about him every day, but now that I've got something for me, that it's just made it so much easier. Obviously, I haven't gone on to have another baby, and I'm still iffy, humming and hawing whether I will. Maybe not now, maybe later on, I'm not sure. So yeah, I definitely think if you're not gonna, or you can't get pregnant straight away, I think find something for yourself, a new hobby, a pet, whatever's gonna work for you.
Yep. And just an example too of our parents, obviously our brother died 20 years ago now.
Yeah,
20.
Yeah.
I had to count that. Not 19. 20 years ago now. And they are, obviously, they still grieve on Mother's Day, because he died on Mother's Day. Hello, Braxton. And, you know, and the date of his death, the date of his birth, all those kind of dates are going to bring up some emotions. But our parents are doing fairly well for themselves, and they don't dwell on it every single day that I know of. Some things, obviously, if they have a downer of a day, it might be something that's brought up in their memory kind of thing, but you know, they still are living a pretty good life. So it goes to show that grief does kind of ease a bit over time as well.
And to start with, honestly, you think like, when is it going to get easier? Is it ever going to get easier? And it took a decent amount of time, but it does. Just hold on, because it will get easier.
For me, it was getting on to the next IVF cycle that made me like get on, like, right, we've got a plan, this is what we're going to do, and that helped a lot too, was just to get back on the bandwagon with that
Focusing on something else.
Yeah, exactly. Do you find it harder with having a loss and a child than you would have without? I think I'd find it the same. I find it easier after like having Melrose now, but if I, with having Roman and then a miscarriage, for me that made it more upsetting was the fact that I'd gone through IVF to get that baby, and then now it's like it had gone to waste kind of thing, and I knew I'd have to go through IVF again. That was probably just as upsetting, more than the fact that I had experienced having a child before and then losing one.
See, I don't know. I think my 3 old children got me through my loss. Like, having them made it so much easier. I think if I hadn't had them and then had a loss, I think it would be so much harder. Just not those smiles every day.
Yeah. And I guess again it would be different if it was your first pregnancy and having a loss as well. If we hadn't had a kid at all and then we miscarried, like we were having a threatened miscarriage with Roman, I was devastated when I started bleeding with him. Like, I wanted to just die.
1 o'clock phone calls.
It was like Boxing Day or Christmas morning or something.
It was Christmas.
And I was just like, what the hell is going on? And
who do I ring?
It was ending.
Christmas morning.
What is this for, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And that I was just like, that's it, we've gone through all this and I'm not even going to have a baby. So I think if it's your first loss, I think it's even worse, to be honest, because, you don't have anything to help, like children you've had beforehand, to look at them and think of your blessings and blah 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 blah.
And my mum actually says that because I'm older than our younger brother who passed away, and she says that having me is what, she had something to, obviously he died at 4 months. She said that having an older child got her through, because you've got something, to focus on and live for, obviously for her, because she did contemplate suicide and things like that, losing a baby to cot death. So she said definitely having me was what got her through.
Hey guys, if you have any further questions, feel free to leave them below, and if you want to target them at Stevie, just say a question for your sister and I'll see if I can get them answered in the upcoming weeks. But thank you so much for watching, and we all know that pregnancy and infant loss is a really taboo subject, and I think it's important to spread the word and not be ashamed, and I'm one of those people who needs to not be ashamed, even though my loss was something really early on. I need to get rid of that shame of it, and we need to talk about it, and the more we talk about it, the more it will be accepted in society to be something that we can talk about over a cup of coffee, because these babies had the potential to be anyone, anything, and unfortunately their lives were just ended far too soon, and they deserve to be recognised, I think. So thanks so much for watching, and thank you so much, Stevie, for coming along. I'm sure it's kind of hard to get in front of a camera for the first time. I think she did very well, don't you think? Okay, and let me know if you have any questions or comments and leave them below, and I'll be sure to get them over to Stevie. And there's also be a link below for the teddy bear as well, if you are thinking of getting something like that made. I will see you guys in my next vlog, which will probably be another Mela and me, I think. Give this a thumbs up if you think that my sister did really well, and share this video with anyone who you think might be struggling with pregnancy and infant loss, because it may just give them a helping hand.
And see the smile, it does get easier.
It does get easier, it definitely does. If you know someone who is going through a pregnancy loss, just be there for them. I think that's the best thing you can do, is just don't say like, oh, I know exactly how you feel, or oh, do you think you should go talk to a counsellor or something. These decisions can be made on their own. Even just be there, I think.
Definitely.
I think the best thing is
take
to be
a
there.
meal around, anything. Someone had sitting on my couch was all I needed just to cheer up, so yeah,
ring someone. Talk about it. It makes you feel a bit better. Even if you're bawling your eyes out on the phone to each other, it makes you feel better.
Yeah,
from
definitely.
experience.
Yeah.
Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. I promise I'm going now. Okay, I will see you next week. Bye.